Hey, this is Steve Halleck of TikToking, and you can find me at Steve Halleck on Instagram, or I have a podcast. It's the TikToking Podcast. It's available on iTunes and Google Podcasts and Stitcher, and I don't know, wherever you listen to podcasts. But we got to dig straight into this one because I have in my hands maybe my all-time favorite watch, and I can't wait to share it with you. This is the Greubel Forsey Invention Piece 1 in white gold with the sort of gold frosted inside. And to me, this is, right up there with the best watches ever made. It's very, very difficult to top. And we're gonna dig into it and find out why. Most of which is self-explanatory, and you've probably already figured it out in the first 45 seconds of this video. But let's see what the heck we're dealing with here. So Greubel Forsey started, two guys started it, obviously. Robert Greubel, Stephen Forsey. Robert is French, Stephen is English. They worked together at Renault and Papy, which is where they met. Those are the guys. Now it's been fully absorbed into Audemars Piguet, but they make all the AP complications, and they make the Richard Mille complicated movements, and they make they used to make basically all the cool complications for all the brands. So these guys have a great pedigree. But while they were there, they got along well, and I'm sure over lunches in the valley there, they started discussing what they thought about the future of watchmaking, and they realized that they shared a similar passion to keep inventing and not sort of rest on the laurels of what had been done in the past. But they both believed that new mechanical inventions could be made using old technology to increase the precision and I guess cool factor also of watches. But they were also both interested in how to make something of the most perfect quality that is possible in the world right now. And so that's how Greubel Forsey was born. So a few years later, they released their first piece, which was the double tourbillon 30-degree incline. And you can see I did a video review of the full piece with the dial and everything. That's the 30-degree incline double. I also did the double tourbillon technique, which is the same movement, but sort of skeletonized out and everything. What they decided to do as well was to release a series called the Invention pieces. And this being Invention Piece 1 was the first one, which you would think goes without saying, except the fact that Invention Piece 3 came out before Invention Piece 2. So it gets a little bit confusing. But Invention Piece 1 was the first one, and it is their first invention, and it is the double tourbillon 30-degree incline that you can see in those two other pieces that I have video reviewed. And the idea was to make a watch where the invention itself was the centerpiece of the watch. And you can see that's exactly what they've done. This watch is basically just a giant tourbillon in a case. There's not much more to it. The time telling itself is geared right off the tourbillon, and it is telling right there. And in addition to that, you just have kind of rudimentary time telling functions, but very clearly the design is all about this invention. Now, again, I have gone over the invention itself in the two other watches that it's featured in, but I'll go over it again since that's what this watch is about. It is a double tourbillon, which is just one balance, one escapement, but it's one tourbillon inside another. So the inside tourbillon is inclined at 30 degrees, and it rotates once every 60 seconds. And that entire mechanism is inside another tourbillon that rotates once every 4 minutes. And that is what is meant by the double tourbillon 30 degrees. Okay, so you can see right now you've got it at this angle, basically facing us, and it's going to spin all the way around so that in about 10 seconds or so, it's going to be completely away from us as that inclined 30-degree shifts. So we're here right now, basically, as it's going, right? So there you go. You can see how the entire thing shifts. Now, the idea with that was to continuously move the angle and the effect of gravity that is on the escapement while it's on the wrist, right? And the sort of proof of concept of this was when they entered the double tourbillon 30-degree technique, which, again, I've done a video of, but it uses this exact same mechanism. And they entered that into the main chronometry competition, and they won with it. So it actually does work. Other functions of the watch, you have hours and minutes here. So basically the way you read it is this cuts it off. You don't pay attention to the hands when they're under here. And 12 is at 12, but because it's cut in half, you kind of double everything else. So you have 12 to 9 here. It picks up again at 9 there, and we will reset it here. So as you move it, the blue is the minute hand, and the red is the hour hand, and that's it. Now, it's not the easiest watch in the world to read the time, admittedly. The hands are small, and you have to get used to the fact that basically when the hand is right here, instead of it being quarter past, it's half past. But quarter past and half past at least do line up. So once you get used to the idea that pretty much everything is just doubled, then you can tell time decently easily. And I'm still getting used to it myself because I just got it. But that's the idea there. You have a power reserve here, 72 hours, which is nice. Here you have a running seconds, which I don't really use for anything, but I suppose if you wanted it, it's good to have. And other than that, the main finish of this watch, the main feature of this watch is the finish itself, right? So the thing with Greubel that you have to understand is that once you get up to the upper echelons of finishing, each new kind of percentage point or percentile of perfection is exponentially more difficult and more costly. I was having lunch with a very well-respected independent watchmaker recently, and he was saying that in his watch, which people really love, and it's kind of renowned for its finishing as well, he didn't even attempt to do kind of Greubel level of finishing because he wanted to be able to sell it for $130,000 and to raise the finishing level even 1 or 2 more percentage points would mean that it would have to be $400,000, $500,000, or $600,000. So it really is rarefied air up here. And when you have the watch in your hand, and especially if you compare it next to something else that also is very good, you can see how spectacular it is. So the dial itself is real frosted gold. It's not a coloring added. It's not a PVD or something like that, like a lot of people use. This is a real hand-done frosted finish. And I've heard that the black polish on this long tourbillon bridge takes 24 man-hours just to achieve. I think it's probably the biggest black polished part in all of watchmaking. You may have heard the term black polish and not known what it is, so we may as well go over that since this is the ultimate black polish part. Black polish is the highest, sort of one of the most difficult hand finishing techniques to achieve, and it's usually done on much smaller parts. It's kind of much more difficult the bigger the part is. But you can see here that when it's not reflecting the light, it's basically completely black. And as soon as it catches the light, it turns into a full mirror and is almost completely white, right? So that is black polish. The case is the normal Greubel size, kind of their standard size, which is 43.5, and it is pretty chill. You know, it doesn't have the infinity symbol or all the writing all over it or anything. You've just got simple white gold case with the Greubel Forsey crown, and you know, the intersection is brushed, the lugs are polished, The lugs have this really cool kind of complex parabolic shape here that is sort of convex, but not a standard convex angle, which is pretty cool, and it sits nicely on the wrist. I'll show you at the end. Now on the back, you have, again, just tremendous finish. Look at the sparkle that comes out of that gold, and the frosting, and the engraving, hand engraving of these letters is just spectacular. But you have a message like is common in many Greubel Forseys, and it's sort of a secret message to the owner. To paraphrase it, it basically is all about the invention itself and the need for the invention, and kind of what it does and how special this piece is and difficult it is to achieve and stuff like that. So I'm going to show you the watch on the wrist, and you can see it kind of glow. Again, this watch now is like a 10-some-year-old watch, so it's starting to get a little bit of patina, that kind of vintagey feel to it, almost like the very, very early Journe tourbillons, which I think is just sort of extra cool, and another reason why I really love these gold frostings a little bit better than the white, although they're still spectacular in any color in this watch. But let me strap it on my wrist. I put it on this gray strap, which I'm kind of digging. It came on black. I think brown would look good too, but for now I think the gray is really nice. I don't know if I've said it, but this is in my personal collection. I don't see ever selling this watch. I don't know where you go from here, but I'm super digging this thing. So it's kind of customized for my tastes right now. So here you can see it on the wrist. It fits really nicely. It's a great size. You know, you guys know my wrist isn't that big, but it fits and it hugs, and the lugs hug well. Again, this convex lug shape is interesting and kind of provides some visual interest from any angle. But mainly the thing with this is the depth of it and that bridge and the tourbillon itself, which is really front and center, and kind of no matter what orientation your wrist is in or what you're doing during your day, it's hard not to be left with your jaw open and drool running down your mouth, because it is just, man, it's just spectacular. So the world of horology is better for things like this existing. This is really the peak of the mountaintop. So I hope you guys enjoyed this review, and I look forward to showing you guys some more at some other time. Thank you very much. Bye-bye.